Hi, my name is Krystle Urbaez and I do textile design and clothing design. I'm also a painter and a visual artist. I'm from Puerto Rico and Miami, Florida, and I come to school here at NHIA. I started making clothes maybe a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I started gaining that interest when I decided to do textile design. Started seeing many pieces by different artists that resembled a lot of African wear, and it reminded me of my culture and the things that I missed about being in Puerto Rico. And seeing the colors, seeing the vibrancy, seeing the different things that I could do with fabric and manipulating images and silk screening onto fabric changed my perspective of clothing and the way people saw me as an African American and Latina woman. I often have been judged as a person based off of my clothing and literally the things that I wear, the things that I do, and the things that I decide to make myself. Sometimes people assume that I'm not approachable, or like they have seen me and assumed things of me just because of what I was wearing. So I have taken that into perspective, and I've seen the different ways that people treat people because of their appearance and their clothing, and I've decided to take a stand on that. So that made me want to start making clothes for myself and for other people. Being from an island, the clothing that I will typically wear there has really influenced who I am as a person and the way that I see life and the vibrancy of the colors and the different things that like you wouldn't see up here in New Hampshire because of the cold and because of the weather. I missed all of those aspects, and being able to make the clothes myself instead of having to pay other people to make them for me really helped me out. The textiles themselves are very process oriented and based, so I really enjoy making those things. I really enjoy process because it reminds me of how back in my island we take clothing and we take food and different aspects of life, even decorating homes, and we make it into a family, more traditional thing. I learned how to sew because of my grandmother. I learned how to make my own clothes because of my grandmother. I grew up with her making clothes for me. I was inspired and learned how to make these things because of, like I said, my grandmother. She raised me, and she was the person that used to love to have crazy colorful things and patterns all over the house. It was the same with my mother. My mother always loved to have crazy colors and patterns and different mixes of things that people would normally not have in their homes. And as a result, I got to see the different kinds of color and the different kinds of ways to approach pattern and mixing them together. It is like a big fear of people to mix different patterns together and to mix different colors. And as a result, people tend to stay safe. But I like to mix things, different patterns, different kinds of clothing, different kinds of textures together, just to create these textures that people would never see normally unless they were visiting a different country other than the US, or like looking at African patterns, looking at historical pieces that were mostly influenced by tribes. I do have a favorite piece. My favorite piece would be the first textile shirt that I made. It's a top that I layered with different kinds of fabric. I took 8 layers of fabric and silk screened onto each layer, and each layer had an image of my face distorted. I took images from beauty gurus and inspirations like the Jenners and the Kardashians, and I altered their faces and my face, switching features. I did that mostly to represent the way that people see the woman figure and the way that people see faces. I tend to think that the idealized version of beauty and beauty standards tend to be the Kardashians, or like these celebrities that are put in front of us and the commercialized aspects of ourselves. I visited Japan, and while I was there I realized that almost every single ad was a blonde Japanese woman with blue contacts on because they wanted to look like the westernized version of the American woman. And being a woman that was told that that was the standard that I had to live up to my entire life, I wanted to fight against that.